Hey guys, Patar here. Today we're talking about the Veneration build. This is a build that I've come up with myself, that I've played a few times on stream. I've had a lot of people ask me questions about it, and so I'm here today to illuminate it all and answer all of your questions, hopefully, about what I think is a pretty cool dynamic build, and maybe something of a hidden gem in the Holy Paladin world. So without further ado, let me just explain really quickly what the build entails, what talents you want to play, what stat priorities are required for it to work, and also what situations you would want to play it in and what situations you maybe do not want to play it. And then after that, I'll go into another arena demo. It's about a 5-minute game, and it really showcases the strength of that build in an actual game. So first things first, let's look at our talents. We have basically the standard Holy Paladin build that I've been playing. Again, no Light of the Martyr. That's a talent that I've ditched. If you are interested in a video about why Light of the Martyr is not good for me, then go ahead and let me know in the comments. But for now, you can see we have our very standard Holy Paladin build with two main exceptions. The first one is that I am not playing with Tyr's Deliverance, and the second one is I'm not, of course, not playing with Boundless Salvation. And I'm basically just taking these two talents from a traditional Holy Paladin caster build and moving them into Veneration and Truth Prevails. And because of Veneration, that's why it's called the Veneration build. And the other thing that you want to do maybe is put a point in your class tree into Judgment of Light. This talent doesn't provide a lot of throughput, but as I'll talk about in a minute, you're going to be pressing Judgment a lot, and so this adds a little bit of throughput, so it can be nice. But if you need a Poison Dispel or want to take another talent, that's totally fine too. Judgment of the Light really doesn't provide too much throughput. So how this build works is, let's just go through and read the description of Veneration. Hammer of Wrath heals up to 5 injured allies for 200% of the damage done, split evenly among them. Flash of Light, Holy Light, and Judgment. Again, those are the 3 spells that you can use to consume your Infusion of Light procs. So critical strikes with those abilities reset the cooldown of Hammer of Wrath and make it usable on any target regardless of health. So whenever you Hammer of Wrath, regardless with a proc or not, it's going to do some healing, and then critical strikes with Judgment, Holy Light, or Flash of Light are going to reset the cooldown, and you can press it on anyone, even if they're not in that execute range. And then the second piece is Truth Prevails. So this adds a little bit of extra healing to Judgment. You basically heal for X amount when you press Judgment, and it also reduces the mana cost, so that adds some nice mana efficiency to the build. And then 50% of any overhealing gets transferred to some injured allies. So it's kind of a smart heal that does some extra healing. And the first thing that you notice about these is the healing comes from 2 instant cast spells that also do damage. So that's kind of right away 2 of the strengths of this build that a Tyr's build wouldn't have, is it allows you to press Judgment and Hammer of Wrath a lot to do a lot of healing. And it doesn't require any hard casting. And because this Veneration proc that resets the cooldown on Hammer of Wrath relies on critical strikes, this build is going to heavily prioritize critical strike, even more than we would normally. So if you're not getting crits a lot, the value of this build is not going to be very much, because you want to get consistent procs to throw out as many Hammer of Wraths as possible. And as you're watching this video, you may be thinking, well, if it's based on Hammer of Wrath, how come we don't invest all the way down to Vanguard's Momentum, that has where you get 1 extra charge and you can uh, does extra damage, or it generates an extra holy power below 20% health enemies? And basically the answer is because you have to spend 3 points to get to this talent, and it does not outweigh the strength of your other core talents down here. So in my opinion, it's not worth going down that far just to get a little bit of extra value out of your Hammer of Wrath. So that's basically it for like an overview of the build. There are certain pros and cons to this build that you want to consider. First off, there's less hard casting, so you don't have to cast tiers, you don't have to maintain tiers, which can be really nice when you have, for example, 2 enemy melee training you down in the arena. It can be really hard to try to fake cast and get that off. And all the while you're trying to do that, you're losing HP, and you can just kind of, I find that you can almost like set yourself back by casting Tears. So you don't need to do that at all, which is nice. It's very mana efficient for a couple of reasons. One is Hammer of Wrath itself is very mana efficient. It only costs 15,000 mana compared to, for example, Holy Shock 65,000, Judgment 42,000, Crusader Strike is around the same. So for a Holy Power builder that's instant cast, this is really the best one, purely for just building Holy Power. But it also does damage, and we're gonna of course get some healing now that we're playing Veneration. So that's one piece of the mana efficiency puzzle. The other piece is, of course, we're playing Truth Prevails, which reduces the mana cost of Judgment. And if you're pressing Judgment a lot throughout the course of the game, this is really going to take a dent on your mana. And if you can reduce the cost of that, of course, you'll be able to last longer in the game. So that's very good. And then, so those are the pros of the build. The cons, basically, you're relying on procs. Even if you have a high crit chance, it's not guaranteed to give you a Veneration proc, so it may not work all the time or when you really need it. It also requires a high crit chance, so if you haven't already invested in crit gear, let's say maybe you went a haste route or you're playing with more mastery, which are generally perfectly fine for reasons covered in my written guide, but it's not going to work for this build. So you really need high crit to get those judgments, those critical strikes on judgment and flash of light to get your veneration procs. Additionally, you're going to have to play closer to enemies. So this is generally not good because we want to, the golden rules of healing. We want to stay away from the enemies. At 40 yards, which is the range of most of our heals. Here you're going to be more of a mid range, so more in the in between 30 and 40 yards, and you want to push in for a judgment or a hammer of wrath, and then pull back when you don't have those procs. And furthermore, the rotation can be a little bit tricky. You have to swap between, doing your normal Holy Paladin rotation, Holy Shocks, Word of Glory, Eternal Flame, and then on top of that, weaving in targeting an enemy to hit them with a judgment or a hammer of wrath, and then again swapping back to your holy shocks and your wogs. So that can be a little bit tricky. So it's definitely a little bit harder to pull off, but I think it's really strong in the right situation. The last thing I want to talk about before we get into the demo are a couple of situations when you should try Veneration, where I think it's good, where I think it can equally perform with Tears or even better, and some other situations where you don't want to play it, or maybe keep with the regular Tears build and don't worry about playing Veneration. So first of all, Veneration should be good into things like melee cleaves, or basically any team that can shut down your Tears cast or train you into the ground. These are things like Death Knight, Rogue, Windwalker, possibly Evoker, things, even Mage, things that can just stick on you like glue and totally harass you, prevent you from casting Tears a second time. Usually you can get that first one before, when the gates are opening, but getting that second one under duress or team's rotting, it can be really hard into certain comps and teams. So in those situations, comps like Death Knight Rogue, Death Knight Windwalker, Death Knight Warrior, things that just have a lot of uptime on you and can easily shut down your Tears cast, definitely good to give Veneration a shot there. The other situation would be smaller maps. So even if you're not playing into these melee teams, it could be a Wizard Cleave, but you're playing against them on, say, Hook Point or Blackrock Hold. These are super cramped maps, and you're pretty much always going to be able to be in range for a Judgment or a Hammer of Wrath no matter what. So in those situations, I think give Veneration a try. I think you'll have a lot of success. Now, when you don't want to play it would be basically the opposite of the situation I just described. So the worst case scenario would be, a huge map. It's too far to go in for those judgments and those hammers of wrath, or it's just some wizards that can kite you easily. So pushing in for that, for the judgments and the hammers isn't going to be worth it, or you'll have to press too many buttons to make it work. So in those situations, it's better to hang back, play Tears, and just play in a normal way. But that's it. For my recommendations, let's get straight into the demo of a live game playing Veneration. Okay, now let's take a look at the Veneration build in a live arena game. I'm healing Shadowplay, and the enemy team is Unholy Death Knight and Assassination Rogue. I don't get combat, so I get sapped. Paladin's coming in off screen to hodge me. I anticipate that by pressing Aura Mastery before the stuns and blinds hit me. I get a nice grip from my priest before he gets gripped. Normal Holy Paladin rotation, Barrier Faith, Divine Toll. I cast a Flash of Light, and I'm going to pause it here so we can see exactly how the Veneration build first becomes relevant. So I can see that I got a Veneration proc from my weak aura because I don't always look down at my action bar, so I like to have stuff up close and personal here. If you're interested in this weak aura or any of the other weak auras in this pack or other stuff from my UI, just check out a link in the description. I've got everything you need there. But here, what happened was I consumed an infusion of light proc using Flash of Light. That was a critical strike, so that gave me an infusion proc. So now that I see this on my UI, I'm going to walk forward a little bit so that I'm in range of the Death Knight or Rogue to hit them with that hammer. So I push in, I hit him with the hammer, I walk back out because I'm still trying to keep a distance, and I don't need to hit them with any hammers or judgments. I throw a hammer, I get another infusion proc, or sorry, another veneration proc, which you can see behind this CC icon. So right away, I've gotten 2 veneration procs within what would already be the cooldown of Hammer of Wrath is around 16 seconds, and within that time frame, I've already been able to use it twice, so it's already gotten good value. I press Wings to top my team. I'm still prioritizing my normal Holy Paladin rotation. I still want to keep Holy Shock on cooldown when people are taking damage. I don't want to overcap Holy Power too much. And so the Veneration just kind of adds another layer to that rotation. It doesn't change it too much. So there's the second Divine Toll. Another Barrier of Faith coming in right now. Get my Dawn Lights out. I gate to get out of that kind of melee ball. Get hit with a DR stun, but I've already preempted it with hot, so I have nothing to worry about. And now I have 2 infusion procs that I'm going to use and hope that they give me a veneration proc here. I get grip blinded. I do get a proc from that latest judgment. I press Hammer of Wrath. It doesn't do quite enough healing, so I end up bubbling here just to be safe. And now with this bubble, I'm making sure my team is healthy. I get my Dawn Lights out, and I'm going to go towards the enemy healer for a Hodge. He immediately trinkets because he's kind of in a bad spot, and he has to run towards his teammates, but he's in the wide open, so I hit him with a full rep. And again, I'm just going back to my normal Holy Paladin rotation. I ended up getting a critical strike in the Judgment there, so I get a free Hammer of Wrath, or rather a Hammer of Wrath on any target regardless of health. It's not free. I get another Judgment, another Hammer of Wrath proc, and so this moments like that are what makes me really, really love this build, because not only do I not have to babysit tears, run around a corner, hold up a hammer, and tell all the melee, hey, please attack me, I can just sit kind of in this open mid-range situation. I'm throwing judgments. After that, I'm chucking Hammer of Wrath. You really get the full Paladin fantasy, and it performs well enough to actually be good. So again, I'm in Wings. I throw a judgment. I get another proc. I can Hammer of Wrath out of this. If it weren't silenced, I think I do end up throwing my hammer pretty soon. But everyone's healthy, so I don't really need to prioritize spending that proc. I end up going in for crowd control and enemy healer. I spend that proc at the very last second. But it's important not to over prioritize spending these veneration procs on Hammer of Wrath when you don't necessarily need to. The extra healing and damage is nice, but you don't want to overextend or give up your good positioning just to, throw a cool blue hammer. Right now I'm playing hide and go seek with the rogue. I fake cast my rep. He gives me precog. He cloaks just to not get Searing Glared, which is great because I'm playing with 2 wizards, so he's going to want that cloak back later. I get stunned. I bop out of it to keep my trinket. And I'm just back to my normal Holy Paladin grind, building up Holy Power, spending it with Eternal Flame. Healer comes in again, so I just dodge him. I'm going to start consuming my infusion procs now. I don't get a proc on that judge. And, yep. Holy Shock, press Wog, the usual wombo combo. I have my Awakening going now. Pressing Judge, it crits. I get a Hammer of Wrath proc. I press that. And now I'm casting some Flash of Lights, hoping that it procs. I do get a proc there. Casting Hammer of Wrath, feeling like an awesome paladin, casting hammers and judgments, smiting my foes. Um, Still just running after this Paladin, getting a Hodge. So it's important from this video to realize that I'm not trying too hard to make sure I'm Hammer of Wrathing whenever I do get that proc. I still want to prioritize the normal Holy Paladin rotation, spending Holy Shock, keeping it on cooldown when I have less than 2 charges, or when I have 2 charges, and then not overcapping Holy Power, spending on Eternal Flame. Those are still the most important parts of your kit, as you can see from this details breakdown, where Holy Shock and Eternal Flame are my top 2. And really, no matter what build you play, your top 5 are going to be what you see here: Holy Shock, Eternal Flame, Beacon, Dawnlight, and Barrier of Faith. That's like the core of our kit. But now that we're playing Veneration instead of Tiers, our number 6, 7, 8, and so forth aren't going to be, the Tiers little ticking heals, or maybe a holy light. If we're playing Hand of Divinity, it's going to be more Greater Judgment, Veneration, and a few lines down you can see Truth Prevails. In this situation, I did not end up playing Judgments of Light because it doesn't add that much healing, and I wanted a Poison Dispel. But yeah, I never had to cast Tears. I never had to worry about wasting my Hand of Divinity proc. I was able to kind of stay in this mid-range, 30 to 40 yards, pushing in and out to use my procs, then pulling back and doing my normal healing rotation. And I hope you guys enjoyed this showcase. It's a super fun build. I hope you give it a shot. Um, and yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for watching this video on the Veneration build. It really is a cool build that I came up with that I think works just as well in tier as the Tiers build in the right situation. But moreover, it's fun making videos for you guys. This was a video suggested by one of you, and I want to make sure that I'm giving you what you want. So if you have any comments on how you liked this video, if you want to see something else, or comments on the stream, what else you want to see, anything goes. Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe as well. I appreciate you so much. I'm having a blast creating content for you guys. So enjoy this video and the more to come, and check me out on my stream. And until then, I'll see you later. Take care.